been some time since you raced the Bowerman Mile. What does coming back to Hayward racing the Bowerman Mile mean to you?
I mean, obviously, not just being American, but a former Duck. It's always exciting racing at Hayward, and then obviously being the last pre-classic at Hayward Field in this state is obviously going to be pretty exciting out there and memorable for me. So I'm just gonna, unlike most pre-classics, kind of take in everything, just being under the grandstands, having the warm-up like I normally do, and just take it all in. Like, just kind of been, I guess, took it for granted and last 10 years and just kind of went through the motions without soaking in every moment, but definitely be taking everything in tomorrow.
Did this one make it kind of a must come to pre-classic, it being that last year? Did it make it a easier decision than the decision already? Yeah, I mean, this race in the past, if I'm not even in great form, I'll still race. In 2012, I think I was in the International Mile, wasn't ready for the Bowerman Mile, but I still want to race because it's pre-classic. So unless I'm completely injured and hurt and not running like in 2016 or sick like last year in 2017, I'm going to be competing here regardless of what kind of fitness. So it wasn't like a must race just because it was the last year that it's at the old Hayward Field. It's always going to be a race for me, like no matter what. So.
I know a few of your early season races this year have been sort of slow for you.
Yeah.
Were you worried at all about that, or do you feel like you're making the progress you want to?
Yeah. No, I wasn't worried about it. I mean, I knew where I was, and I'm not going to. We race so many times throughout the year. We'd like to race so many times. I'm not going to be fresh, and everyone's preparing for different times of year. Everyone's preparing for different type of meets, and I've been doing this since 2012 as a professional athlete, where I never historically come out of the gates feeling great and looking fresh. I've always had some rust busters, and that's no different than this year. There's some guys that I probably raced already that were down in Australia, maybe just finished coming off the Commonwealth Games, or up here in the different time of season. So I'm always worried about myself. I don't really care for where anyone else is that time of year, and I know where I'm going, so I was never worried.
Yeah, I mean, this race typically it's often won under 350, which would obviously be personal best for you. I mean, if it goes out super hot early, you're just going to back off and relax, or you're really going in there trying to win? Like, what's your mindset? Yeah,
just be competitive. Yeah, I'm just going to put myself in there. Obviously, I'm not going to put myself in auction debt. If they go on 53, I'm not going to be right on 53, but it is what it is, and I'm just going to kind of approach it like I normally do, just put myself in the mix, and if I find myself there in the last lap, up in the front, usually good things happen, so.
How has training changed since you moved back east, or is it much the same this year?
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been too much different. A lot of the workouts my dad and Alberto do are from the old Oregon traditional workouts with Bill Dillinger days. So yeah, it hasn't been. I get my tempo runs in, I get my long runs in. My mileage is pretty much the same, and it's been just nice, different variety, different trails back east. But I've been up at altitude the last 6-7 weeks with the Oregon Project, and so that's been nice, kind of getting back into a good groove.
What was your reaction to hearing the news about Asbel Kiprop? Were you surprised?
To be honest, I was. Yeah, I was. As a competitor is, you want to think that everyone is on the same playing field. You don't like to speculate, or at least I don't speculate on who is and who isn't. I could do that with other events. I could do that with other sports. But when it comes down to my event, I don't really go to that. I don't really take my mind there, because at the end of the day we have to race each other, and it doesn't make any difference at that time. But I will share an interesting story, I guess. After the Olympics, right after the race, Nick and I were walking to the medal ceremony, and it always remembered. It just kind of stuck out to me. I remember I'm obviously super excited, and just kind of going up to him, and he was happy that McLuffy got second over Kiprop, and I don't know why that stuck out to me. And I was like, thought to me like that was kind of strange, just because of all the accusations on McLuffy the years before. But so when everything kind of came out recently, that just kind of reminded me of what Nick said right after the race, and so I don't know if he saw that coming or what, but that kind of just stuck out to me.
Did you read his defense? I mean, do you buy what his explanation is?
Nick's
Kiprop's defense.
To be honest with you, I got the Cliff Notes. I actually didn't read the whole thing. I mean, obviously it raised a lot of red flags. I think if anything, after reading that, there's got to be something that needs to be done over there. It just seems like getting tipped off, knowing when they're coming, not coming. That just, again, that's just not how that works here in the U.S. It's nothing that I've ever even, when I'm in different countries, over in Europe, that's just everything is random. You don't know until they're knocking on your door. So there's a lot of things, money and everything, just kind of like, again, like I said, a lot of red flags. Just nothing that I'm used to dealing with or hearing about. Certainly all new news to me about how drug testing is done. You know what I mean? Like all my teammates, anyone I've ever spoke to in the U.S., like that's foreign. You know what I mean? Like that's just not how it works. I shouldn't how it work.
How exciting is it to come back and run here? Is it still special to you? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with I mentioned earlier, just kind of like the last time we're going to see Hayward Field in this state is just kind of like I think I'm just going to take everything in tomorrow. Unlike most meets, we just kind of go through the motions, but certainly is bittersweet. I'm excited for the new plans and the new model and everything, but also it's this has a lot of history here and. Growing up in the Centrowitz household where my dad ran here back in the 70s, I've been hearing stories ever since I was born, even before running. So, I'm pretty excited and I'm looking forward to getting out there tomorrow and getting in a pre-classic Bowerman Mile. It's been a couple years, so looking forward to it.
This is your last chance to run on this track before it's demolished. What was your favorite race that you've run here and why?
I got that question recently. I'm gonna stick with the 2011 U.S. champs. I was still competing for Oregon. That was my first U.S. championship win, and I just had everyone here, like my family, friends, watching, obviously in the stands. And believe it or not, that was like the first. After that race, that was the first night I ever went out in Eugene, like partied. So I was a young kid, and I just partying, going out wasn't my scene in college. And I remember the next morning, I was on Luke Pesquedra's shoulders at one point in the night, this and that. And I remember asking guys who had gone out before me and the guys on the team, and I was like, is going out always that fun? And they're like, absolutely not. I was like, okay, good, because I felt like I would have missed a lot of my college experience. So that whole win was kind of probably my favorite. I'd say that at Hayward Field, and Bernard Legat got second that year, and he was obviously an inspiration for me growing up. So kind of to take down one of your idols was just that much more meaningful and of a win. So yeah, I'd probably stick with that race.
You've spoken this year about, or at least earlier in the year, about getting the American record at some point, either the mile, 1500, that sort of thing. Do you think by if you continue make the progress you want to by July or August, is that still feasible? You think?
Yeah, I think so. I think tomorrow will be a good test, see where I am and where it is. But one thing I've noticed, I'll be vocal till the rest of my career about that's a goal of mine. I'll never say that's not. Obviously, that's something that is on my to-do list and something I want to get before my career is over. But I'm not going to force it. If I get it this year, next year, the following year, whatever it is, I know where I am training wise, and it's not gonna burn me if I don't get it this year. You know what I mean? This year it's all about obviously if it comes, it comes. But this year it's with no championship race. It's kind of about competing in these diamond leagues and being competitive with these guys in these set-up time trial races. So I think anyone too, most people that break records, it's kind of one of those things where they just didn't force it. Just kind of they got in the race where they're competitive with it, and it came. And that's the type of racer I am. I'm not like Alan Webb, where I'm going to set up something and be on my own out there. If I'm gonna break a record or run fast, it's going to be me competing against someone and not being aware of the clock and just kind of going for the win. And if it happens, it happens.
One more question on Kiprop. I mean, you were second to him at Worlds in 2013.
Yeah.
Given the news now, do you feel like you were robbed of something there?
It's hard to say. That race, I went back and looked at it too, and he was at the time he was the class of the field. I thought I got a distant second. Who knows? I'm gonna say the way my career ended up panning out, I don't feel robbed compared to maybe other athletes. Had maybe I gotten second at the Olympics, by him, then yeah, I would have felt that way. But the way my career shaped out, I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm a victim. I'm gonna stick to kind of what my feelings are. Kind of what Nick Lewis said about how there are other people. Back in Kenya and other less fortunate athletes, I guess, that would probably feel more robbed than me. So I'm not gonna. I'm gonna go on to the rest of my career, and I'm not gonna look back. There's many opportunities I could look back, and I got second at the Emsley Car Mile in London to him, and that would have been a nice title as well in 2015. But it is what it is, and I'm looking ahead. So,
Matthew, what have these last 2 years been